The event at Downing Street last year, just before Christmas, how can Number 10 defend it? It looked party-like from descriptions that we've had at a time when parties were not allowed. Now, quite a few different lines have been tried. There's been the just go away, there's nothing to see line.
Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the right honourable gentleman is that all guidance was followed completely during Number 10. And
in fact, we've really had quite a lot of that line.
I was not working in Downing Street at the time, nor do I work in Downing Street now. I was serving as Culture Secretary and now Chairman of the party. But what I can tell you is that the Prime Minister has been very clear that the rules were followed at all times in Downing Street.
There's the Dominic Raab admission on the Andrew Marr show that certain party-type functions would have been against the rules.
Very straightforward question. Last Christmas, were Christmas parties allowed in London?
So look, if you're so generally no.
No. Generally no.
Well, there's the police minister today suggesting that maybe the event was socially distanced.
I don't know what the circumstances might have been, how far people would have been apart, or what size of space it was. There's all sorts of variations.
And then there was a new Downing Street line today at a press briefing that there was no party. Now, even though we've been told by someone there that there were drinks, nibbles and games. Well, Joshua Rosenberg, QC, legal commentator, joins us. Joshua, if you were employed by Downing Street to argue this in court, what do you think how do they defend this?
I think they've got a number of different excuses, and I don't blame them for not plumping for one rather than the other, because one may not work and they can say, well, I never meant that one, there's the other. It's not a party, it's a permitted organised gathering.
Right.
Which is an exception to the rules. You can have a risk assessment, you've got to limit the transmission of coronavirus and so on. If that doesn't work, it's a gathering necessary for certain purposes, and one of those is for work purposes. So it wasn't a party, it was simply a work meeting where a certain amount of refreshment
the judge isn't going to. Yeah, I suppose you could say it was essential for work, couldn't you? That they had a bit of downtime to chat and reflect on the busy time. Yeah,
exactly. So they were working and they couldn't go home and they had to have something to eat. Otherwise, they would have been
okay. I'm the judge, Joshua. I kick that one out and say it was obviously a party. You give me one of the others.
I'll give you a really good one, which some people have been suggesting today on Twitter, and that is that it's exempt from the rules because Downing Street counts as Crown property. And if you look at Section 73 of the Public Health Control of Diseases Act 1984, which is what the regulations were made under, it seems to mean that they don't apply to government departments. That must include 10 Downing Street and other royal property, for example, unless ministers have actually taken the steps to say, well, it does apply, and I don't suppose they've done that. So that may be a get-out clause.
That is a clever, ingenious one, isn't it? I mean, obviously that literally is one rule for them and one rule for everybody else. Enshrined in law, not a great political case, but I suppose a legal one, yeah.
You have some sympathy for them. They were trying to run the country and they couldn't run the entire country from home. But I think it's very embarrassing for them, isn't it? When is a party not a party?
That's really what it is. What does a party mean? If people came in from outside, if there was evidence that people arrived who had not been at the office that day, it wasn't like it's been busy, we're all tired, we've cracked open a bottle of wine as we reflect on everything we've done. If it was people came because the date had been set and, one or two games were organised games, it wasn't just a few people sort of playing a bit, that would change. It would make it harder, wouldn't it, to settle?
I think it would be harder, and you've also got to look at the number of people involved. Of course, it doesn't follow that just because an offence may have been committed, anybody's going to prosecute. There's plenty of time. There's 3 years from the commission of the offence, and it must start within 6 months from the date on which the prosecutor has enough evidence to go ahead, which I don't think is yet because nobody's started investigating. But even then, there have been plenty of events that have not been prosecuted, and it doesn't set a very good example if it happened. But maybe it's not against the law and maybe the judge will let them off.
Joshua, fascinating to hear that legal case gone through. Joshua Rosenberg there. Thanks so much.